Hi Apple lovers, and welcome to my first Apple buying guide, and today we are going to talk about the iPad. This is one of my favorite product categories. I had the iPad first generation when it was released in 2010. Now if you look on Apple's website today, there are 4 different styles of iPads, and there's variations of each of these. So in this guide I will talk about each one and make some suggestions about which one you should buy. Now remember, this is just my opinion, and after being a lifelong fan of this product, that's all I can give you. So let's start the episode. Welcome to the Tech Hub. Now, the first thing we're going to talk about before we talk about each variant of the iPad is, should you get Wi-Fi or should you get Wi-Fi with cellular? Now, for me, I don't think it's worth the extra 30 to 40% cost of having the cellular model. Reason being, chances are if you've got an iPad or you're in the market for an iPad, you have an iPhone. iPhones have hotspot. Very easy to turn on. Boom, you have yourself a Wi-Fi connection straight to your data plan. Chances are if you are out and about, there's enough Wi-Fi hotspots around the world to now connect to. So is it really worth the 30 to 40% extra increase? Personally, I don't think so. Now, the next thing to talk about is storage capacity. Now, apart from the Pro, all models start off at 64 gigabytes of hard drive capacity. For me, this is a decent number, and actually, with the way the iPad is, you can just download apps when you need them. A lot of the time it will uninstall the app if you haven't used it for a while. If you do need more storage capacity, then you can plug in external hard drives to every model. Obviously the Pro has the USB-C connector, but you can get adapters if you do have a iPad variant with a lightning cable connector. Chances are you might need it for the photos that you've taken on your phone. We do not use iPads to take photos. They have a camera, they are not a camera. Anyway, however, if you're the type of user that does need extra storage, it could be worth it. However, like I said, you can use an external hard drive if you need it. So for me, it doesn't necessarily warrant the cost of 30 to 40% extra. iPads aren't cheap in the first place. And of course, built into iPad OS is iCloud storage. Very simple. I'd rather spend the money increasing my tier of iCloud storage if I needed it. And of course, the good thing there, it syncs across all your devices. There are other alternatives to iCloud storage too. There's lots of cloud storage companies, so you could also use that option as well. Each does tend to have a subscription model if the base free version is not enough. But for me, I always go for the lowest capacity because it's the lowest price, and I personally don't need it. The next thing to talk about is screen size. Now, plain and simple, if you want the biggest size possible, iPad Pro 12.9. I recently got this M1 variant, and I love the real estate. I love the size of the screen. However, at the time of this recording, this is February 2024, there are rumors of an iPad Air 12.9 coming out in March. I would wait for that one, and you can skip to that section about the iPad now. Or if you do want the biggest one possible that's available right now, skip to the iPad Pro section. The iPad mini, this came out and everybody loves it. It is a great machine. This is the smallest variant at 8 inches. I absolutely love it. This is the way to go. So if you like the mini version, skip to that section right now. And lastly, we have the 10-inch I would say the normal size. This is the average size of your iPad. Now, this is the 9th generation. This is a 10.2 inch. There's also the iPad 10th generation, which is 10.9 inch. And of course, the iPad Air at 10.9 inch. Very similarly, the smallest iPad Pro is 11 inch. Now, if you are buying your first iPad, never had an iPad before, or you want a rock solid one, this is the size to go for. So the first variant of the iPad we're going to talk about is the standard iPad. This is a 9th generation, which starts at 369, and that is for the 64 gigabyte Wi-Fi only. There's also the 10th generation. I don't have one to hand. That one starts at 499. Now, there are some differences in them. However, I don't think it's worth the extra £130. Basically, the back camera is better on the 10th generation. It can shoot 4K video. The iPad 9th generation has 8 megapixels and it can shoot 1080p video. Now, like I said, your iPhone is your camera. I really never use my iPad as a camera, but the camera that is important on both models, of course, is the front-facing one. Now, they are both exactly the same. They are both 12 megapixels. The only difference is that the 10th generation is landscape orientated and this one is portrait orientated. Now the landscape is better, but not £130 better. The only other difference with the front-facing camera is that the 10th generation is ultra wide, but they both have center stage. So they're going to follow you around on the court anyway. Their chips inside are very similar. The A13 in the 9th generation is solid. The 10th generation is an A14. So it's the next generation. However, this is speedy enough for your average consumer. I don't think we really got any reason to spend that extra 130 apart from if you do have the disposable income, the 10th generation does look better. There's different color variants. It looks more like the iPad Air, which I really like the look of. The edges are squarer as well. And the only other difference, they both have stereo speakers. However, the 10th generation has 2 of them at the side, so it does sound better. This is my top tip iPad, plain and simple. If you've never had an iPad, this is your first experience, or you just have one iPad. People do have more than one iPad for different things. I'll come on to that later on in this video. However, if you only have one iPad or it's your first iPad, this is the way to go. £369, solid machine. Okay, the next iPad variant to talk about is the iPad mini 6th generation. This is my favorite iPad. I absolutely adore it. And until I got this, I always had a 10-inch or an 11-inch model. When I got this, I had an iPad Air, a 10-inch model. I stopped using it. I think the only time I used it, I took it on holiday. This was my go-to one. So for the first time ever, I sold my 10-inch variant, and this is my main iPad. It's great. I'm holding it with one hand, as you can see. It's super mobile, so if you're on the go, it's great for note taking if you get the Apple Pencil. This is compatible with the Apple Pencil 2. I've had an Apple Pencil with every intention of using it. However, I am not that creative that I don't have it anymore because I can't draw for shit. My handwriting is crap. Like I said, sat on the sofa, comfortable, just chilling out, watching content, looking at websites. It's 8.3 inches, the screen. Now the spec is the same as the iPad 10th generation. So it's the same 12 megapixel camera on the back that shoots 4K. Same camera on the front, apart from its portrait orientated. Now this is more expensive than the iPad 10th generation. This is 569. But you are getting the A15 chip, so it's again another upgrade on that. I can't tell you how much I adore this iPad. It's great to use. You can even sit on the toilet. You all know you use your iPads on the toilets. Put it on the windowsill whilst you're getting ready as well. It's super mobile. I recommend this for students. I recommend this for kids as their first iPad. Protect the shit out of it though, right? Screen protector, kids case. This is great. I have a lot of love for this. And this is where I said people have possibly multiple iPads. This is your on the go. It can fit in a tiny bag. Some pockets this will fit in. This is the way to go if you are on the go. This made me fall in love with that iPad experience as well because things were getting stagnant. This is awesome. So the next variant to talk about is the iPad Air, the only one I don't have to hand. I did have one, but like I explained during the iPad mini, as soon as I got the iPad mini, I stopped using it. So it was just sat there. However, this for me is for a semi-pro. Price-wise, this starts at $669 direct from Apple, and for me, it's the best looking iPad. It's thinner. It has square edges. So if you are a Apple lover, you're not quite a pro user, and you don't want to spend a small fortune on an iPad. With the iPad Air having the M1 chip, it is a workhorse. It's going to do everything that you throw at it, including any form of video editing. It's sleek looking, it performs extremely well. Again, it has the same front-facing camera of 12 megapixels, and the back is the same as well. It has Touch ID on the power button too. That is probably my favorite iPad next to the iPad mini. And if I ever had a average size iPad again, that's the one that I would go for, is the iPad Air. So again, this is for semi-pro users. Again, you've probably got a bit more of a disposable income. You don't want to spend a fortune. Is the iPad Pro, which we're going to talk about next, worth an extra 35% on top of this one? Not performance-wise. If I had to choose between the Air and the Pro, I would go for the Air. Like I said, at the recording of this time, February 2024, the new Airs are due out in March, heavily rumored. There will be a 12.9 variant. So going back to what I said about screen sizes at the beginning, if you want the bigger screen size, wait for the Air 12.9. And that's the way to go. So really, the Air trumps the Pro for me. Just as powerful, not worth the extra 35%, and it looks better too. And of course, there's some awesome colors to choose from as well. Now, the last iPad variant we're going to talk about is the iPad Pro. We have the 11-inch and we have the 12.9-inch. That is the only difference between the two. Exactly the same internals. However, you have an M2 chip, which is a complete workhorse. Obviously, all of these are in the Macintoshes now as well. It's like I said, if you are in the market for a Pro model, you are a Pro user. I'm not going to go into too much detail about these. However, with the 11-inch starting at $899 and the 12.9-inch starting at $1249, you have some serious disposable income if you want to go for these. I have recently purchased the 5th generation with the M1 chip. I adore it. Cut a long story short, I had a 2nd generation 12.9 that I used for my drumming. I have it on the wall, and that's where it sat. And then there was rumors of the iPad Air 12.9 coming out this March. So I started using it again, and I just fell in love with the size of the screen. For me, that is the main reason to go for the Pro, is the 12.9 machine, unless they do in fact release the iPad Air 12.9 variant. As I stated, if you are a Pro user, you probably have the money for one of these. These are fact the best iPad ever produced. Spec wise, it has dual cameras. There's a 12 megapixel and there's an ultra wide 10 megapixel. If you're a Pro user, perhaps you do use your iPad as a camera. The front cameras are the same, again, as the other models. They're 12.9. These are the ultra wide ones. Main difference is it has Face ID, which is so convenient. Touch ID is great, and the other models do have them, but just something about Face ID. You're just looking at your device and it works. These start off at 128 gigabytes storage capacity. And again, if you're a Pro user, you probably have that. However, if you're not a Pro user and you just love Apple and you want the best iPad possible, this is the way to go. I don't feel I can justify such a stark increase from 369 on the iPad 9th generation, just for an average consumer that wants an iPad to watch content or to browse the internet. However, if you can afford one of these, you are getting the best device at the time of this recording. These are solid devices and you will not be disappointed. So that was my buying guide. So I'm going to try and summarize. So after recording all of that, if you're one iPad user or new to that experience, the iPad 9th generation, the cheapest one, 369, is the way to go. You're going to get that awesome iPad experience and you are set. If you are more of an Apple fan and you have a bit more of an income, the iPad Air is the way to go. However, if you think you're really going to benefit from how mobile the Mini is, the Mini is the way to go. So I would say first choice, iPad 9th generation. Second choice would be either the Mini or the Air, and the only thing to decide between there is the screen size. If you're a pro user, you are going to get the iPad Pro. Now, one thing we haven't touched on, of course, is buying brand new, refurbished or secondhand. That's coming up in my next video about the iPads, so be sure to check that one out. Thank you very much for watching this episode. Please like and subscribe to my channel. Please follow me on Instagram and Threads at TechHubWilts UK. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.